The fake young master bound me to a wishing system. Yet no matter what I wished for, he would always receive double of it. He dreamed of using the system to lie back and enjoy success, climbing to the peak of life without lifting a finger, and keeping me beneath him forever, so that my biological parents would completely abandon me. But he never expected that I wouldn't play by the rules. I wish I could sleep 8 hours every day. That very night, the fake young master fell into a 16-hour coma. Right after that, I made my second wish. Who knew, by the next day, the fake young master was kneeling in front of me, crying and begging me not to make any more wishes. I held the last unspoken wish in my hand and smiled. Neither he nor the system ever imagined that the rules of this game were written by me. Main text. After being acknowledged by the wealthy family, I was bound to a wishing system. The system said that as long as I completed the tasks, any wish could come true. But I dreamed that every time my wish succeeded, my luck would be stolen by the fake young master in double, until I suffocated and died in resentment. When I woke up, the recognition plot arrived right on schedule. This time, I looked at the beginner task, bullying the poor student, and laughed. When I jolted up from bed, the sweat on my back had already soaked through the blue and white striped summer mat, washed so many times it turned brittle, leaving a dark stain. Even the t-shirt stuck to my back felt like a wet rag. My heart was pounding wildly in my chest, each thump 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 smashing against my ribs until they hurt, my temples pulsing along with the rhythm. Outside, the sky was just beginning to lighten. The bluish-gray dawn leaked in through the old security bars and landed on the third one's bed across from me. He was sprawled out like a starfish, a line of shiny drool at the corner of his mouth as he muttered, "Don't grab my chicken leg, the last one's mine." His snores buzzed like a tiny motor, echoing sharply in the quiet dorm. I stared at the yellowing paint on the ceiling, yet all I could see was the suffocating final scene of the dream. I was lying on the second-hand hard bed in a tiny rental, the bed frame creaking beneath me. Piles of unwashed clothes sat in the corner. The air was heavy with the smell of cheap instant noodles. In my hand was my old phone. Screen lit up, showing the fake young master Makoto's latest WeChat post. He wore a tailored suit, holding Willow, dressed in a mermaid tail wedding gown, in his arms. Willow rested her head on his shoulder, smiling sweetly. Behind them stood my parents. My mom was in a glittering, jewel-covered cheapao, holding Willow's hand as she smiled until her eyes squinted. My dad patted Makoto's shoulder, full of satisfaction. The caption read, "Congratulations on my son's wedding. Wishing you eternal happiness." That, my son, jabbed into my eyes like a needle. My chest tightened as though stuffed with a soaked cotton wad, blocking my lungs, each breath scraping with a metallic taste. Finally, darkness swallowed my vision, along with the suffocating resentment of why does he get to steal my life and still live so well, sinking into endless black. Fuck. I cursed under my breath and wiped my face, my palm coated with cold sweat. The dream felt too real, so real that even now, with my eyes closed, I could still see the disgust in my mother's gaze when she looked at me, as if staring at garbage. So real that every time Makoto leaned in and called me brother, the fleeting false smile at the corner of his mouth resurfaced. So real that Willow's evasive look when she saw me, as if I were some sort of calamity, stabbed right into my ribs. My name is George Wong, and I grew up in the Sunshine Welfare Home on the outskirts of the city. The director, whom we all called Mom, said that when I was brought in, I was only a few months old, wrapped in a ragged piece of cloth, with a silver pendant hanging around my neck engraved with the character Wong. Yesterday afternoon, 2 men in black suits, their leather shoes polished to a mirror shine, came to find me. They told me I was the real young master of the Ito Corporation who had been missing for 18 years. At that moment, I was in the cafeteria scooping food, holding a half-eaten bowl of vegetables and potatoes. I thought they were scammers until they showed me the paternity test. The genetic match was 99%. And they even had the silver pendant I'd worn for 18 years. They said the character Ito engraved on the back was the Ito family crest. The plot in my dream matched this perfectly, down to the detail of Makoto studying in a Sino-foreign joint program, with tuition 10 times the cost of mine. I had clawed my way in with a score of 623. My tuition paid through the welfare home's financial aid and the money I earned from weekend part-time jobs. And Makoto, I heard from the student union that he paid a 3 million yuan sponsorship fee to get in. His exam score was more than 120 points below the admission line. He always sat in the back during class, either sleeping or playing on his phone. Thinking of that sent a shiver down my spine, goosebumps rising across my arms. In the dream, I died suffocating in resentment, in a cramped rental no bigger than a closet, without even a proper funeral. So what about reality? Would it also end up like the dream, where the family affection I desperately longed for turned out to be nothing but an illusion? My phone suddenly buzzed. The screen lit up, displaying an unfamiliar number. I took a deep breath, gripping the phone so tightly my fingertips turned white. When I slid to answer, a gentle yet distant voice came through, as if coated in sugar but hiding shards of glass inside. "George, do you have time this morning? The family is sending a car to pick you up. Let's meet and talk about the next steps." The line was identical to the dream. I stared at the screen of my phone, And suddenly two half-familiar lines popped into my mind: by acting through non-action, nothing remains undone. And true contention lies in not contending. To contend is precisely not to contend. I had seen them last year in an old edition of the Tao Te Ching that I found on the orphanage's dusty bookshelf. Back then, I thought they were just deliberately obscure nonsense, but now they feel like a lifeline I can cling to. All right, I'll wait for you at the west gate of the school. I tried to keep my voice steady. After hanging up, I realized my back was covered in sweat again. When I climbed out of bed, the bedboard creaked loudly. The third one woke up, rubbing his eyes as he sat up, hair sticking out like a chicken nest. "George, what's up? Why do you look so pale this early in the morning?" "Nothing, just had a nightmare," I said while searching for clothes. My fingers brushed over a t-shirt so washed out it had turned white, and my heart sank again. "Oh, by the way, lunch is on me today. You guys pick the place. Order whatever you want." The third one immediately perked up, jumping off his bed without even wearing his slippers. "Holy sh*T. George, you struck it rich. Don't tell me you're actually a hidden rich kid. When you said you grew up in a welfare home, I thought you were poor like me." I smiled but didn't reply, pulling the t-shirt over my head. The Ito family's car was parked under the plane trees at the school's west gate, a black Mercedes Maybach with matching number plates gleaming blindingly under the sunlight. The driver wore a black uniform with gold cufflinks. When he saw me approaching, he immediately opened the back door respectfully and made a welcoming gesture, but the faint hint of scrutiny in his eyes pricked into me like needles. I bent down and sat inside the car. The genuine leather seat was so soft it made me uncomfortable all over, and I didn't even know where to put my hands. A faint sandalwood fragrance lingered in the air, completely different from the disinfectant smell of the welfare home dormitory. When the car drove onto the overpass, I watched the skyscrapers blur past the window. Instead of feeling any excitement about returning to my roots, all I felt was a growing, suffocating unease. In the dream, the first time I went to the Ito family villa, my hands were trembling from nerves. I accidentally knocked over a vase at the entrance. Makoto then accidentally spilled juice on me, and my mom, though I hadn't dared call her mom yet, wrinkled her brows as she wiped the juice off her dress, her tone full of disdain. "You're so careless, no manners at all, like someone who's never seen the world." This time, I learned my lesson. I ironed my clothes thoroughly, spent 5 yuan at the school laundry to do it, and even bought a pack of tissues at a convenience store and stuffed it into my pocket. I trimmed my nails clean, leaving nothing for people to nitpick. The Ito family's villa was even more extravagant than in my dream. The fountain at the entrance shot a 3-meter-high column of water, droplets splashing across the marble ground in tiny crystals. The garden was filled with blooming red roses, dew still clinging to the petals. A gardener in uniform was trimming branches with a pair of shears. Ito mother stood on the steps of the entrance, wearing an off-white silk dress, a pearl necklace resting on her collarbone, and a crocodile leather clutch in her hand. She wore a smile, but it only reached her lips, not her eyes. "George, you must be tired from the trip. Come inside. It's windy out here." Makoto was there too. He leaned against the doorframe, his hair slicked back with gel until it shone, with a few streaks of gold-dyed tips. When he saw me, he immediately walked over with exaggerated enthusiasm. "Bro, you're finally here. Mom and Dad started waiting for you yesterday. I even told the kitchen to make your favorite dishes." "Oh, right. I don't actually know what you like, so I just told them to cook whatever." When his hand was about to land on my shoulder, I subtly stepped aside, avoiding his touch, and murmured, "Thanks." Makoto's hand froze midair. A flicker of surprise crossed his eyes, probably because I wasn't acting overwhelmed and grateful like in the dream. Instead, I was distant. Once inside the living room, I felt even more constrained. The crystal chandelier was nearly 2 meters wide, its light reflecting off the rosewood furniture so brightly it hurt. A landscape painting hung on the wall, signed by an artist I didn't recognize. A servant brought over a cup of hot tea. I accepted it with both hands, my fingertips brushing the warm porcelain. I whispered, "Thank you," then sat on the sofa furthest from the main seat, back straight, pretending to be nervous while secretly watching their reactions out of the corner of my eye. Sure enough, after just a few minutes of small talk, Ito mother put down her teacup, leaning forward slightly. Her tone sounded like she was discussing, yet carried an unmistakable edge of insistence. "George, you've just returned, and there's still a lot to adjust to. You see, Makoto has been with us for 18 years. We're very close. Suddenly having an older brother might make him feel uncomfortable. So, how about this? Don't change your name for now. And let's not tell people you're a child of the Ito family yet. It'll prevent gossip and keep things easy for Makoto. All right." It was exactly the same as in the dream. I lifted my head, letting a troubled expression surface on my face. My fingers tightened around the rim of the teacup. After a brief pause, I whispered, "All right, I'll listen to you, Auntie." I didn't call her Mom. I couldn't. In the dream, the first time I called her Mom, she had paused for a moment, responded vaguely, and then immediately turned her gaze toward Makoto, an expression that chilled me to the bone. Ito father sat on the grand armchair opposite me, holding a purple clay teapot. He hadn't spoken a word until now. When he finally opened his mouth, his voice carried a slow, heavy authority. The villa has enough rooms, but since you've just returned, you might not be used to living with us. We'll arrange a guest room for you first. Once you've settled in, we can talk about other arrangements. His gaze swept over me, assessing me like I was an item for appraisal, without a shred of warmth a father should have for his son. Thank you, sir. I kept nodding, wearing that obedient, sensible expression, while inside, it felt like an ice pick stabbed right through my chest. Makoto pretended to protest beside him. Dad, Mom, my brother just came back. How could we let him stay in the guest room? My room is huge. Why don't I give my room to my brother? I can stay in the guest room. While he spoke, his eyes flicked toward my mother, waiting for her to refuse. I immediately waved my hands, adding a deliberately flattered and overwhelmed tone to my voice. No, that's not necessary. The guest room is fine. I'm okay with any place. I don't want to trouble Makoto. The satisfaction in Makoto's eyes nearly overflowed. He took a sip of tea, the corner of his mouth curling in a tiny victorious smirk, probably thinking I was as easy to manipulate as I was in the dream. Someone who would obediently yield the moment he was thrown a bone. When they finished laying out all their requests, I finally lifted my head and slowly took out a neatly folded piece of paper from my pocket. I had calculated it last night in the dorm until past midnight, writing it out line by line under the yellow dorm lamp. The welfare home's 300 yuan monthly allowance. 9 years of compulsory education, tuition was waived, but the books and miscellaneous fees totaled 2,860 yuan. The financial aid for each of my 3 years in high school, 2,000 yuan per year. The cost of textbooks, stationery each year. Even the 500 yuan the welfare home paid when I got sick in my last year of high school. All added together, the total was 86,427 yuan, not a single digit missed. I handed the paper over and said, Sir, ma'am, I grew up in the welfare home, and the state helped me a lot. The director always told us to repay kindness. Now that I've found you, I want this money to be returned to the state, donated to the welfare home. Please consider it my way of expressing gratitude for the years of support. The living room went dead silent. Even the faint footsteps of the servants vanished. Ito father and mother's expressions froze instantly. Ito mother's teacup trembled in her hand, and some tea spilled onto her silk dress, leaving a dark stain. Makoto dropped his act altogether, frowning at me like I had turned into some bizarre creature, his eyes full of disbelief as if I'd made an utterly absurd demand. Ito mother finally took the paper. Her fingers trembled slightly as she read it. After a long moment, she forced a stiff smile. George, child, why are you being so distant? This amount, your father and I can afford it. No need to make things so complicated. Her voice sounded unnatural, clearly thrown off by my request, which disrupted her well-crafted plan. Ito father cleared his throat, breaking the awkward air. He reached into his suit's inner pocket and took out a black bank card. Placing it on the coffee table, he pushed it toward me. There's 5 million in here. Consider it compensation from your parents. As for that amount you mentioned, we'll have someone donate it to the welfare home. You don't need to worry. His tone carried impatience, as though he were dealing with a pestering beggar he wanted to dismiss quickly. 5 million. Twice as much as in the dream, where they only gave me 2.5 million and called it temporary living expenses. I sneered internally. Outwardly, I kept that same grateful, touched expression as I picked up the bank card with both hands, my fingers lightly gripping the edge of the card. Thank you, sir, ma'am, but this is too much. I can't accept so much money. Take it. Ito father cut me off, his tone brooking no refusal. Consider it something we owe you. I slipped the bank card into my pocket, said nothing more, and still didn't call them Mom or Dad. After sitting for a moment, I checked the time on my phone and stood up. Sir, ma'am, Makoto, I have class this afternoon, so I'll head back to school first. Ito mother froze, clearly not expecting me to leave instead of staying over. In the dream, I had timidly asked if I could stay, and she had replied with, the guest room isn't ready yet, telling me to go back to school. Now she hurriedly said, why don't you sit a little longer? Stay for dinner. We had the kitchen prepare a lot of dishes. No, I still have things to do at school. Thank you, ma'am. I said it and turned around, walking away without looking back. I was afraid that if I turned, I would see the relief on their faces, afraid I wouldn't be able to stop myself from asking, did you ever see me as your son? At the villa gate, the driver offered to send me back, but I refused, saying I wanted to walk. I followed the Ito tree-lined sidewalk outside the villa, sunlight filtering through the leaves and scattering light spots across the ground. I clenched the bank card in my hand, the sharp edge pressed into my palm until it hurt. Only one thought filled my mind. The losses I suffered in the dream, I won't suffer them again. What Makoto owes me, what my parents owe me, I'll take back one piece at a time. When I returned to the dorm, the third one, the second one, and the fourth one were all there. The third one was gaming furiously, the keyboard clacking non-stop. The second one was watching a show with his headphones on. occasionally letting out a creepy giggle. The fourth one was organizing his books, getting ready to head to the library. The moment they saw me, the third one paused his game, swung around, and bulged his eyes like bronze bells. George, well, are you really a rich kid? Were those suit-wearing dudes really here to pick you up? I pulled the bank card out of my pocket and tossed it onto the table. Clack! The crisp sound filled the whole room. All three of my roommates crowded around instantly, staring at the sleek black card like it was a rare artifact. 5 million, I said, keeping my tone as flat as possible. But I suspect it's a scam. Who gives someone 5 million for no reason? Holy sh*t, 5 million. The second one picked up the card and held it up to the light, pinching the edges like it was priceless. George, bro, did you get sponsored by some rich sugar mama? This looks expensive. It's like a black card or something. Get lost. I laughed and smacked the back of his head. No sugar mama. It's what I told you before. Someone thinks I'm their long-lost kid. This is their compensation. I told them the whole story of the family recognizing me, though I didn't mention the dream. I only said the family was weird. They didn't let me change my name, didn't want to acknowledge me publicly, and suddenly gave me 5 million. Something just felt off. The third one slapped my shoulder so hard I almost stumbled. George, who cares if it's a scam? Withdraw the money and spend it first. 5 million. That's enough for us to live like kings till graduation, and buy a car on top of that. Exactly, the fourth one chimed in, pushing up his glasses, excitement gleaming in his eyes. George, why don't you treat us to a fancy meal? Think of it as celebrating you finding your family early, and celebrating our dorm producing a rich kid. Seeing the three of them looking at me with such eager eyes, my heart warmed a little. Growing up in the welfare home, I didn't have many friends. There were many kids there, and everyone minded their own business. After coming to university, these three roommates were the first people who ever made me feel like I had brothers. They would leave the door unlocked when I came back late from part-time jobs, would drag me to the cafeteria when I didn't have money to eat, would buy medicine for me when I got sick. All right, I picked up my phone and opened the food review app. You guys pick the place. Eat whatever you want today. Order anything. Don't hold back. The three of them cheered. The third one instantly quit his game and started scrolling through restaurants. They eventually chose a famous barbecue place near campus, Old Place Barbecue. Their roasted lamb leg and grilled kidneys were supposed to be amazing, but the prices were steep. Usually, we only went there on birthdays. The four of us rode shared bikes to the barbecue shop. The place was packed, smoke filling the air, the smell of skewers and beer thick enough to cling to your clothes. The owner recognized us and called out warmly, "Boys, your usual spot?" "Yes, uncle, and today we're ordering more dishes," the third one shouted as he dragged us to the table in the corner. When the menu came, the third one pushed it in front of me. "George, you order. You're our sugar daddy tonight." I laughed and took the menu, ordering roasted lamb leg, grilled kidneys, chicken wings, a bunch of veggies, and 2 crates of cold beer. While we waited for the food, the second one suddenly asked, "George, is that family good to you? Like those families on TV, tons of servants, giant dining tables full of dishes?" I paused for a moment, picturing Ito Mother's distant smile and the cold shine of that giant crystal chandelier. Then I shook my head. "It's all right, nothing special." The third one saw I didn't want to talk about it and quickly changed the subject. "Don't talk about depressing stuff. Come on, first drink." He grabbed a beer bottle and poured for all 4 of us. The moment the glasses were full, the skewers arrived. The roasted lamb leg was steaming hot, its skin golden and crispy, sprinkled with cumin and chili powder, the aroma spreading instantly. We grabbed the skewers and ate, chatting about games, classes, our futures, our dreams, the atmosphere growing livelier by the minute. Halfway through drinking, the third one stood up with his beer glass, foam spilling over the rim. "George, here's to you. Rich kid or not, just for this meal, you're my big bro from now on. No, my godfather. From now on, you look after me, and I'll follow you. Get lost. Who's your godfather?" I kicked him lightly, laughing, but inside, I felt genuinely happy. I raised my glass and clinked it with his. "No looking after or whatever, we're brothers." The second one and the fourth one immediately joined in, raising their glasses. "Godfather, treat us to good food more often." "All right, no problem." I laughed and drank a big gulp. The cold beer slid down my throat, washing away the lingering heaviness in my chest. By the time we returned to the dorm, it was almost 11 p.m. The hallway was quiet, motion sensor lights flickering on as we walked past. After washing up, I lay down on my hard bed. I had just closed my eyes, ready to finally sleep well, when a mechanical voice suddenly echoed in my mind, emotionless, like a computer-generated tone. Ding. Condition met. Wishing system successfully bound to host. I snapped my eyes open, every hair on my body standing on end. A cold sweat instantly broke out across my back. A system. Exactly the same as in the dream. I thought I was hallucinating. I shut my eyes immediately, repeating to myself, I must have drunk too much, this is just an illusion. But that mechanical voice rang out again, even clearer this time. Ding. Host. Do not panic. This system is the wishing system. The host is granted 3 opportunities to make wishes. To gain the right to make a wish, the host must complete the assigned tasks. Failure will result in punishment. Get lost. I shouted internally. I don't want any system. Just disappear. Ding. System binding is irreversible. If the host refuses to complete tasks, punishment will apply. Punishments are random and may affect the host's health, academics, or social relationships. The mechanical tone remained perfectly emotionless. First task issued. Bully the top student in the major, the poor girl Anna. Time limit, 24 hours. Please complete the task as soon as possible. Anna. Her image flashed through my mind immediately. She wasn't tall, maybe around 158. She always wore a faded blue school uniform, an old cotton jacket in winter, and just the uniform in summer. She always sat in the first row, back perfectly straight, her notes dense and color-coded. Her family was poor, I'd heard from the class monitor. Her father was a gambling addict who lost everything and racked up debt. Her mother was chronically ill and needed medication. She had a younger brother in middle school, and all his fees and expenses depended on her. Every day after class, she rushed to part-time jobs. At night, she worked at a convenience store until 11. On weekends, she handed out flyers. In the dream, I had obeyed the system and bullied her. I tore up her notes when she wasn't looking, scattering the scraps all over the floor. I blocked her outside the convenience store where she worked, stole her part-time wages, and shoved her to the ground. I posted rumors about her on the school forum, that she dated older men for money, that she won scholarships through improper means. In the end, during our second year after graduation, she jumped from the top floor of our university's main teaching building. The news said she still owed tens of thousands in debt when she died. Her mother, untreated due to lack of money, had already passed away. Her younger brother dropped out to work. Back then, I had told myself it was the system's fault, that I had no choice. But thinking about it now, I was a damn beast. I ruined her life with my own hands. I drove her to despair. I lifted my hand and slapped myself. Pa. The sound echoed loudly in the quiet dorm. The third one stirred in his sleep, mumbling. George, what are you doing? Killing mosquitoes. Why so loud? It's nothing. I forced my voice low, my throat tight. But inside, my emotions churned violently like a stormy ocean. The tragedy in the dream. I could not let it happen again. Anna was so hardworking, so kind. She didn't deserve that ending. But the system said I'd be punished if I didn't complete the task. What should I do? If the punishment hurt my friends, or affected my studies, how would I deal with it? I stared at the mold spots on the ceiling, my mind a chaotic mess. Then suddenly, a thought flashed. The system told me to bully Anna, but it never specified how to bully her. Who defines bullying? The system, or me? What if I changed the way I bullied her, completed the task while actually helping her? Would that work? The moment that thought surfaced, I shot upright, eyes bright. Yes, that's it. The next afternoon, I arrived half an hour early and waited downstairs by the teaching building. It was the time between classes, and students walked out of the building in groups of 2s and 3s, chatting and laughing. I leaned against a plane tree, my eyes fixed on the entrance as I waited for Anna to come out. I had spent the whole night thinking about how to bully Anna while still helping her. What she lacked the most was money, and what she needed the most was to break free from the harassment of her gambling addict father. So those were the 2 points I had to focus on. After about 10 minutes, I finally caught sight of Anna. She was carrying a faded backpack and holding a transparent plastic bag with 2 steamed buns and a small packet of pickles inside, probably her dinner. She walked fast with her head lowered, as if afraid of being recognized. I was just about to walk over and talk to her, when suddenly a middle-aged man rushed out of a small alley nearby. He wore a shabby jacket stained with grease. His hair was messy, his unshaven face full of stubble, and his whole body reeked of heavy smoke and alcohol. He grabbed Anna's arm roughly, his voice harsh like sandpaper scraping. Where's the money? The money I told you to bring me. Are you trying to avoid giving it to me? It was her father, Logan. Anna flinched in fright, the plastic bag slipping from her hand. The 2 steamed buns fell out, rolling to the roadside puddle and getting covered in mud. Her face instantly turned pale, her voice trembling with a sob. Dad, I really don't have that much. I spent most of this month's part-time pay on Mom's medicine. The rest is just enough for my brother and me to survive. Medicine. Her illness is a bottomless pit. It can't be cured. Logan raised his hand, ready to slap Anna. The swing of his arm cut through the air as he threatened. I'm telling you, you must give me $5,000 today, or I'll go to your school and make a scene. Make sure you can't study. I'll let everyone know you've got a gambling addict father. Anna shut her eyes in terror, her whole body trembling. I couldn't hold back anymore. I rushed over and shoved Logan away. He stumbled back several steps, almost falling. I raised my hand and slapped him hard. The crisp smack echoed sharply. Logan was stunned, holding his cheek as he glared at me with fury. "Who the hell are you? You dare hit me? Do you know who I am?" I stared coldly at him, anger burning in my voice. "Do you know who I am? Try hitting her again." Logan looked at me, then glanced around at the students gathering around. Several already had their phones out, recording. His expression shifted, fear flickering in his eyes, but it quickly turned vicious again. "Just you wait, this isn't over," he spat, then shot Anna a venomous glare before turning and cursing his way back into the alley until he disappeared. Anna crouched down, carefully picking up the buns now soaked and stained with mud. Her tears fell like broken beads, landing on the buns and spreading circles of wet marks. Her shoulders trembled slightly. She looked so helpless, so pitiful. I walked over and pulled her up, deliberately making my tone harsh and impatient. "Come with me." Anna stumbled from the force. She looked up, eyes filled with fear, her voice shaking. "You, what do you want?" "Cut the crap, just walk." I ignored her question and pulled her toward a small classroom behind the teaching building. It was usually used for self-study, and hardly anyone went there. Especially at this time, students were either going for dinner or heading back to the dorms, so the classroom would definitely be empty. Dragging her into the small classroom, I finally let go of her hand. The room was quiet, with only the sound of wind rustling the leaves outside the window. The formulas from the previous lesson were still written on the blackboard. There were spider webs in the corners, and a thin layer of dust lay on the desks. I pushed her into a chair, then took out 2 stacks of cash from my bag, the money I withdrew from the bank yesterday. Each stack was 10,000 yuan, bound with a red strip printed with the bank's logo. I slapped the cash onto the desk. With a heavy thud, it landed loudly. Anna flinched at the sound. She looked up at me, confusion and fear swirling in her eyes. I deliberately put on a lecherous expression, my eyes roaming up and down her figure, and said in a frivolous tone, "I want to hire you as my private assistant. 20,000 yuan a month. The requirements are simple. Whenever I call, you come. Whatever I tell you to do, you do. No refusal." Anna's eyes lit up instantly, like she had seen a spark of hope, but just as quickly, the light faded. She bit her lip, her hands gripping the hem of her clothes tightly. She stood up from the chair, voice defiant despite shaking. "I'm not doing it. Don't even think about bullying me. I would rather starve to death than do something like that." "Bullying you?" I let out a cold laugh and gave her a slap. I didn't use much strength. It was just a light touch against her cheek, but it still left her skin flushed red. I needed her to believe I was truly trying to take advantage of her, otherwise, the later reversal would seem suspicious. I raised my voice on purpose, adding a threatening tone. "Don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Your mom is still waiting at the hospital to buy medicine, right? Your brother's school fees aren't paid yet, right? If you refuse, I'll throw this money away right now and ruin your future. Do you think you can still go to school? Do you think your mom can survive?" My words stabbed into her heart like knives. Tears streamed down Anna's face, her shoulders shaking even harder. She looked at the 2 stacks of cash on the desk, then at me, pain and struggle twisting in her eyes. Finally, she lowered her head slowly, her voice trembling with defeat. I'll do it." With trembling hands, she picked up the stacks of cash and tucked them into her arms carefully, as if holding on to her last lifeline. Then she looked up, eyes bloodshot, and asked in a small voice, "Here, or at a hotel?" Seeing the humiliation and despair in her eyes made my chest ache sharply, like needles piercing straight through. The pain was so intense I could barely breathe, but I couldn't soften, not now. If I did, everything I planned would fall apart, and the system wouldn't let me off. I forced a disgusted expression, frowning as I looked her up and down, my tone full of contempt. "With you, all skinny and dried up, smelling like cheap detergent, what makes you think you're worthy of me?" Anna's face turned paper white instantly. Her head lowered even further, almost buried in her chest. Her fingers clenched the money so tightly the knuckles turned pale. "Here's your first requirement." I softened my tone slightly, though it still brooked no refusal. "Starting today, quit all your part-time jobs. Don't go to the convenience store anymore, and stop handing out flyers. You must eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you must eat properly. At least 1 meat dish and 1 vegetable dish, and never spend less than 50 yuan per meal. When you've built your body back up, come find me. With how you look right now, following me around would only embarrass me. Understand?" Anna froze. She lifted her head, her eyes full of confusion, as if she hadn't understood what I said. She probably never expected that my so-called bullying would turn out to be forcing her to eat properly and quit her part-time jobs. "What are you staring at?" I glared at her deliberately, letting impatience creep into my tone. "Don't think I'm being kind. I just can't stand that there's someone this shabby in my school. It embarrasses me. Hurry up, take the money, and get lost." After saying that, I turned around and walked away without looking back. I was afraid that if I looked at her even once more, I'd lose control. I'd explain everything, or worse, apologize. When I stepped out of the small classroom, the wind outside was a bit chilly. It hit my face and cleared my mind. I raised my hand and slapped myself, a crisp smack echoing. My palm stung with heat. "What a damn beast," I muttered under my breath. I wanted to help her, yet I had to do it in a way that hurt her. When I returned to the dorm, I had just sat down in the chair, not even catching my breath yet, when the system's voice rang in my mind. Ding! Host has completed the task. Bully the top-scoring impoverished student Anna. Task evaluation. Pass. Host receives one wishing opportunity. Based on the host's current state, the system recommends wishes: profitable investment, academic improvement, network expansion. Please make your wish soon. I let out a breath of relief. The task was done, and Anna was safe. Without thinking too much, I said silently in my mind, I want to have 8 hours of perfect deep sleep every day. In my dream, the first time I made a wish, I chose investment profits. As a result, Makoto earned double the money, and my parents hated me even more. This time I refused to choose something utilitarian. I wanted something that benefited me without giving Makoto an advantage. Ding! Host's wish, to have 8 hours of perfect deep sleep every day, has been granted. The effect will begin tonight. Please look forward to it. The system's voice faded. That night, I lay down on the hard dorm bed and fell asleep almost immediately. No nightmares, no noise, not even the sound of my roommates snoring. I slept deeply and sweetly, as if lying on a cloud. When I woke up the next morning, the sky was already bright, and my roommates were all up. I stretched, feeling my body full of strength, my mind exceptionally clear. It was the best sleep I'd had in my entire life. With my backpack on, I headed to class. Just as I reached the entrance of the teaching building, I overheard a few students gossiping about Makoto. Did you guys hear? Makoto slept the whole day yesterday. I heard his alarm rang more than 10 times in the morning, but he never woke up. His parents even had to send a driver to the dorm to wake him up. He almost arrived late, a girl whispered, looking excited with gossip. For real. I messaged him last night asking if he wanted to go to the gaming cafe with us, and he only replied this morning, saying he fell asleep and didn't see it. The boy beside her frowned in confusion. He used to be pretty energetic. Why is he suddenly sleeping so much? I heard his parents took him to the hospital for tests. They did a brain CT and blood work, but everything came back normal. Even the doctors were confused. They said they've never seen someone who can sleep this much. Another girl said, eyes wide with curiosity. I sneered inwardly. Just as I expected, the system had a double effect. If I wished for 8 hours of sleep, Makoto would sleep 16. That was how the system worked. No matter what I wished for, Makoto would always get double the benefit. But this time, that so-called benefit was nothing but trouble for him. After class, Makoto came to find me as expected. His face looked terrible. The dark circles under his eyes were so heavy they looked like someone had punched him. Bloodshot lines covered his eyes, and he looked exhausted. Even his usually sleek, neatly styled hair was a complete mess. Bro, are you hiding something from me lately? He stepped in front of me, blocking my path. His voice carried suspicion, and his eyes locked onto mine, as if trying to catch my reaction. I pretended to be surprised, raising my eyebrows and putting on a confused expression. No, why? Makoto-kun, you don't look very good yourself. Didn't sleep well. Too much study pressure recently. Makoto stared at me, and the suspicion in his eyes deepened. I've been sleeping non-stop lately, 16 hours a day. No matter how early I sleep at night, I still can't get up in the morning. My parents have taken me to a bunch of big hospitals and specialists, but no one can figure out why. Bro, do you think this is something wrong? Could someone be messing with me? When he said, someone messing with me, he stared straight into my eyes, clearly thinking of some unpleasant possibilities. No idea. I shrugged, sounding innocent. Maybe you're just too tired from studying. You're always distracted in class, and before exams you must stay up late cramming. Maybe you stayed up too much and messed up your body. Just rest more. Don't play games all the time. Makoto seemed like he wanted to continue, but the class bell rang. The teacher walked into the classroom with a textbook. Makoto gave me one last fierce glare before turning away unwillingly and headed back to his seat, the last row by the window. During the following days, Makoto's excessive sleepiness got worse and worse. He slept through almost every class, his head tilted on the desk, drool soaking his textbook. The textbook was marketing, and the cover was wrinkled from his saliva. A few times, the teacher called on him to answer questions. He stood up half asleep and couldn't say a single complete sentence, making the whole class burst into laughter. Once, he even fell asleep during a student council meeting. The president was giving a speech, and Makoto's snoring echoed loudly in the silent room. The president got so angry he kicked Makoto out of the student council on the spot. Ito's parents were desperate. They took him to all kinds of major hospitals, even flew to specialist centers in Beijing and Shanghai. They ran every possible test, but all the results showed he was perfectly healthy. Every indicator was normal, with no solution left. They even consulted fortune tellers. One gave Makoto talismans to wear, another arranged feng shui formations at home, but none of it worked. Makoto still slept 16 hours a day, and even when awake, he was sluggish, like a puppet with its strings cut. Meanwhile, I slept a perfect 8 hours every night and felt better and better. In class, my focus was razor sharp. Whatever the teachers explained clicked instantly. I could even help classmates solve difficult problems. I used to struggle with math, always falling behind, But now I could understand everything with ease and even finish extra practice on my own. My roommates said I looked like a completely different person, more energetic, more confident. That night, I was studying in the library. It was quiet inside, with only the sounds of pages turning and pens scratching on paper. I sat by the window, sunlight spilling across the book, warm and soft. Suddenly, a familiar figure appeared in front of me. It was Anna. She had gained a little weight compared to before, and her complexion had become rosier, no longer that pale, sickly color she used to have. She was wearing a light blue dress with a small bow at the collar. She looked clean, fresh, and gentle. She was holding a notebook in her hands, and when she stood in front of me, she said softly, "Boss." I looked up, smiled, and pointed at the chair across from me. "Sit. How's your health? Have you been eating properly lately?" "Much better, thank you, boss." Anna sat down and placed the notebook on the table. The cover was pink with cute patterns, clearly newly bought. She lowered her head and said softly, "These are the notes I organized these past few days. They include the teacher's key points and difficult concepts. If you need them, I can explain them to you." "No need." I pushed the notebook back to her with a smile. "You just study well yourself. These notes are more useful for you." "Oh, right. How are your mom and your brother? Did you pay the medical bills and tuition?" Anna froze for a moment, then lifted her head. Her eyes were full of gratitude as she nodded. "My mom has been discharged. She's resting at home now. The doctor said as long as she takes her medicine on time, she'll recover slowly. My brother's tuition is also paid. He even ranked first in his class and said he wants to learn from me." "Thank you, boss. I really wouldn't know what to do without you." "It's nothing." I smiled, genuinely happy inside. "Just study well. Find a good job in the future. Take good care of your mom and your brother. That will be the best reward for me." Anna looked at me, and there was something different in her eyes now. No longer the fear and wariness from before, but gratitude, and a faint, barely noticeable shyness. Her cheeks flushed slightly as she lowered her head and whispered, "I understand, boss." I was talking with Anna, discussing a math problem, when the system's voice suddenly rang in my mind. Ding. Second task issued. Skip 20 classes. Time limit, 3 weeks. Host must complete the task as soon as possible. Failure will result in punishment. Skip 20 classes. I almost laughed. Luckily, I had already planned for this. When I selected courses this semester, besides my major courses, I had intentionally signed up for 3 easy classes: film appreciation, tea culture, and intercultural etiquette. These courses were lightly managed, and teachers rarely took attendance. Even if they did, someone could help answer for me. Skipping them was easy. During the next 3 weeks, I started skipping classes strategically. Whenever we had film appreciation, the teacher would show old movies. Most students were on their phones or sleeping. I would slip out during this time. During tea culture, the teacher would have us taste different teas. I'd pretend I was going to the restroom and then head straight back to the dorm or the library. During intercultural etiquette, the teacher lectured about etiquette norms. I also left halfway every time. After each skipped class, I would ask the third one to answer attendance for me. The third one was very reliable. He always agreed without hesitation. He even said, "George, just go with me here. You're covered." When I skipped those easy classes, I spent most of my time in the library, sometimes studying with Anna, sometimes reading on my own, and sometimes researching investments. I had 5 million sitting in my account. I couldn't just let it sit there. I had to make the money grow. I read many books about investing, followed various stocks and funds, and planned to invest part of the money when the timing was right. Makoto soon found out that I had been skipping classes. It was probably his informants who told him. He knew a lot of people at school, and there was always a crowd orbiting around him. Thinking he had caught something useful against me, he immediately went to Ito's parents, hoping they would scold me and see me as an irresponsible, worthless kid. But what he didn't expect was that Ito's parents were too busy dealing with his excessive sleepiness to care about me at all. When Ito's mother heard Makoto's complaint, she only responded perfunctorily, "Got it. After Makoto gets better, I'll talk to him properly." Ito's father was even more direct. "He can skip if he wants. He's not part of the Ito family anyway, and he won't inherit the company in the future. We only took him back to ease our conscience and to avoid giving others something to criticize. Everything else, let him do as he likes." Makoto walked away with nothing but humiliation. He was furious, but he couldn't do anything about it, so he could only bottle the anger up inside. 3 weeks later, I successfully completed the task of skipping 20 classes. That night, just as I returned to the dorm, the system's voice rang in my mind. Ding. Host has completed the task. Skip 20 classes. Evaluation. Excellent. Host receives a second wishing opportunity. The wishing system recommends enhancement of business talent, appearance optimization, and increased romantic charm. If the host does not choose one of the recommended options, unknown risks may occur. Please choose carefully. Unknown risks. I sneered. This system was trying to threaten me into choosing its recommended options again. In the dream, I had chosen the recommended wishes, investment profits, and academic improvement, and Makoto ended up getting double the benefits, making my parents even more biased toward him. This time, I refused. I would choose something that helped me while making Makoto miserable. I thought about it for a moment, then said silently to the system, I want my sexual orientation to be female. A simple wish. Really, it didn't affect me at all. I already liked girls. But for Makoto, it would be a completely different story. The system had double effects. If I was heterosexual toward women, then Makoto's orientation. The thought itself was amusing. Ding. Host's wish, my sexual orientation is female, has been granted. The effect will activate within 24 hours. Reminder, host has chosen a non-recommended option. Unknown risks may occur. I wasn't worried about any unknown risks. Whatever risks there were, Makoto would get double. Let him deal with it. Sure enough, 2 days later, the school was buzzing with new gossip about Makoto, even more sensational than the rumors about his excessive sleepiness. Did you guys hear? Makoto confessed to a boy on the playground yesterday. A girl held her phone excitedly, showing the video to the others. Look, he even tried to hug him, but the boy pushed him away. It was so awkward. Seriously, I saw him eating with a girl just a few days ago. How did he suddenly start liking boys? Another girl looked stunned, completely shocked. Oh my god, didn't he used to chase after Willow? Willow rejected him, and he was so heartbroken back then. How did his orientation suddenly change? Another girl said this. I sparkling with gossip. Listening to all this, I felt quite pleased. Makoto had always acted like some kind of Casanova at school, chasing multiple girls and making sure everyone knew he was pursuing them. Not a single girl ever accepted him, yet he kept showing off like some romantic hero. But now, with his orientation flipped to liking boys, let's see how he acts like a Casanova now. Let's see how he chases girls anymore. That night, Makoto came to find me. He cornered me in the narrow alley behind the dorm building. The alley was dark, only one street lamp flickered above us, casting a dim yellow light that made him look even more disheveled. His eyes were sunken, his hair messy, his clothes rumpled, and his shirt buttons were misaligned by 2 holes. He looked like a madman. It's you, isn't it? You did this to me. Makoto rushed forward and grabbed my arm, his fingers digging in painfully. His voice shook with fear and anger. I know you have a system. You made a wish that turned me into this. You'd better use the system to change me back, otherwise I won't go easy on you. I yanked my arm away and let out a cold laugh. What nonsense are you talking about? What system? I don't understand. Your sexual orientation changed. What does that have to do with me? If you like boys now, why blame someone else? Stop pretending. Makoto was losing control, pointing at me with trembling fingers. First I slept 16 hours a day, and now this has to be your doing. You'd better make a wish and turn me back. Otherwise I'll tell my parents and have them deal with you. They'll kick you out of the Ito family. Go ahead. I crossed my arms casually. Do you think they'll believe you? Right now they only care about your excessive sleepiness and your orientation. They don't care about me at all. Even if you tell them I have a system, they'll just think you're crazy, hallucinating because of stress. Makoto stared at me, fear and fury swirling in his eyes, along with a trace of despair. He knew I was right. His parents didn't trust what he said anymore. They thought he was mentally unstable, imagining things under pressure. Suddenly, thud. He dropped to his knees. His kneecaps hit the ground hard, the sound dull and heavy. His pants picked up dust, leaving dirty patches. He grabbed onto my pant leg, his voice trembling with a sob, sounding like a helpless child. Bro, I was wrong. I shouldn't have fought you for mom and dad. Shouldn't have framed you. Shouldn't have made you suffer. Please forgive me this once. Turn me back. Okay, I won't go against you anymore. I'll listen to everything you say, please? I stared down at him kneeling there, and I felt no sympathy at all, not even the slightest. I still remembered clearly, in the dream, how he treated me, stealing my identity, stealing my parents, stealing the girl I liked, and in the end forcing me into a corner until I died with resentment. And now, after suffering just a tiny portion of what he once did to me, he wanted forgiveness. As if things were that easy. Too late. I kicked him away. He fell to the ground, groaning in pain. I looked at him coldly. You should have thought of this ending when you did what you did. This is the retribution you deserve. I turned and walked into the dorm building, ignoring Makoto's crying and cursing behind me. The motion sensor lights lit up as I walked through the hall, shining on me. I felt light, like a heavy burden had finally been lifted off my shoulders. I had just returned to my dorm room, hadn't even sat down yet, when the system's voice rang out in my mind again. Ding. Third task issued. Sever your relationship with your parents. Time limit, 1 month. Failure to complete the task will result in severe punishment that may endanger the host's life. Sever my relationship with my parents. I sneered inwardly. This task was definitely Makoto's doing. He knew my relationship with Ito's parents was strained and wanted me to completely lose this so-called backing, to turn me into someone with no home to return to. He thought that once I was desperate, I would give in and obey him. But honestly, I had been considering this anyway. Living with Ito's parents always made me uncomfortable. In their eyes, there was only Makoto, not me. To them, I wasn't a real son, not even real family. more like an outsider, or even a burden. Instead of humiliating myself like this, it was better to cut ties completely and avoid future trouble. During summer break, I returned to the Ito family villa. The atmosphere inside was oppressive, completely different from my last visit. Ito's parents rarely spoke to me at the dining table. They simply ate in silence, occasionally asking Makoto how his health was. Makoto, on the other hand, always glared at me with venom in his eyes, like a snake ready to bite at any moment. And sure enough, Makoto wasn't idle. Every day, he talked badly about me to Ito's parents, exaggerating and even inventing things like how I was unfilial and greedy. One day, he showed Ito's mother a screenshot of a chat conversation and said, "Mom, look at this. Bro is out there talking trash about our family. He said you and dad only love me and don't care about him. He even said he wants to trick you into giving him the family assets so he can give the money to those people he met in the welfare home." I leaned over to take a look. The screenshot was obviously fake. The profile picture was mine, but the username wasn't, and the tone of the messages was completely unlike how I spoke. It was clearly made with a photo editing app, yet Ito's mother believed it. Her hands trembled with anger as she pointed at me. "George, I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. We already gave you 5 million, and you're still not satisfied. You want to fight Makoto for the inheritance. You're bad-mouthing us outside. How can you be so greedy and so heartless?" Makoto added fuel to the fire, pretending to smooth things over. "Mom, don't be angry. Maybe bro was just confused and misled by someone. He didn't do it on purpose. Don't take it too seriously. Okay, getting angry will only harm your health." As he said this, his eyes were filled with smug satisfaction. "I'm not confused." I set down my chopsticks and looked calmly at Ito's parents. "I never wanted to fight for inheritance, and I never spread rumors about you. The screenshot is fake. If you don't believe me, check my chat records. You can also ask my roommates." Ito's father put down his wine glass, his expression dark, his tone impatient. "Enough. Stop talking. The family is chaotic enough already. Can't you just behave and save me some trouble?" He didn't want to listen to a single word of explanation. In his eyes, I was nothing more than a source of problems. As I looked at them, the last bit of hope I had for family affection vanished completely. I took a deep breath and spoke firmly. "If you refuse to believe me, then let's just sever our relationship." Both Ito's parents froze. They clearly hadn't expected me to propose cutting ties. Ito's mother stared for a few seconds, then let out a cold laugh. "Sever ties? Do you think we even want a son like you? Fine, let's sever it." Ito's father also stood up, pointing at me, his voice shaking with anger. "What did you say? Say it again." I said, "We sever our relationship." I looked at them, pronouncing each word slowly, clearly, firmly. "Starting today, I am no longer your son, and you are no longer my parents. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other. I won't interfere with your lives, and you don't need to interfere with mine." "Fine, fine." Ito's father trembled with rage. He pointed at me, unable to speak for a long time, and finally spat out, "Then sever it. I'll pretend I never had a son like you. Don't you ever set foot in this house again." I said nothing more and turned to return to the guest room. There wasn't much in the room, just a bed, a wardrobe, and a desk. I opened the wardrobe and packed the few clothes inside. All of them were mine. The Ito family had never bought me a single piece of clothing. Then I picked up the Tao Te Ching on the desk. Inside it was a photo of the welfare home director, Mom's photo. It was the only keepsake I had. Dragging my suitcase, I walked out of the villa. Ito's mother shouted behind me, "Once you leave, don't ever come back. Our Ito family doesn't need a son like you." I didn't look back. Instead, I felt lighter. As I stepped past the villa gate, sunlight poured over me, warm and gentle. I finally escaped that suffocating home. I could finally be myself. Just as I returned to school, Makoto showed up. He looked even more haggard than before, his eyes bloodshot, face pale, like he had just crawled out of a grave. "George, you really severed ties with Mom and Dad?" he asked, with a faint, barely noticeable excitement in his voice, as if this was something he had been hoping to hear for a long time. "What does that have to do with you?" I said coldly, not wanting to waste another word on him. "Of course it has something to do with me." Makoto laughed, a twisted, eerie laugh. "You've lost Mom and Dad's support now. You've lost the Ito family as your backing. Let's see how you fight me. And listen, you better stop making wishes. Otherwise, I'll go to Anna and tell her your real reason for bullying her. I'll let her know what a hypocrite you are." He really thought using Anna could threaten me. That was too naive. What happened between Anna and me, only the two of us knew. Even if he went to her, she would never believe him. I looked at him and suddenly smiled, a relaxed, amused smile. "You think I'd be scared? I know Anna better than you ever will. Even if you go to her, she won't believe a word you say." I paused, then stepped closer to him, lowering my voice, adding a cold, sharp edge to it. "By the way, let me ask you something. If I made a wish that my blood pressure range is a systolic 90 to 139 millimeters of mercury, Diastolic 60 to 89 mmHg, what do you think would happen to you? Makoto's face immediately turned ashen. He stumbled back several steps, nearly falling. He pointed at me, voice trembling with terror. Don't you dare. If you make a wish like that, I'll take you down with me. And you'll what? I stepped toward him, one step at a time. My cold gaze locked onto him. You think you're still in any position to negotiate? You can't even control your own body anymore, and you still want to fight me? Stop wasting your breath. Makoto looked at me, his eyes filled with terror. He suddenly turned around and ran, faster than a rabbit, and quickly disappeared from my sight. Watching his retreating figure, I sneered coldly in my heart. He had already been frightened out of his mind by the system. As long as I made even the slightest threat, he would panic. This was only the beginning. I would make him pay for everything he did to me, both in my dreams and in reality. After that, Makoto seemed like a completely different person. He stopped going to school and stayed home all day, locking himself inside his room, too afraid to go out. The curtains were drawn tightly, and whether it was day or night, his room remained pitch black. Ito's parents had no choice but to bring meals to his door every day. They would knock and call him to eat, and he would only occasionally open the door to take the food before shutting himself inside again. The room was filled with instant noodle cups and takeout boxes, the floor littered with cigarette butts and scraps of paper. The air reeked of an unpleasant stench, like a garbage dump. He was constantly convinced someone was out to hurt him. He often had nightmares at night, screaming things like, "Don't come closer, I didn't mean to," and "System, don't come for me." Ito's mother frequently heard his cries and screams through the night. Every time, her heart ached terribly, yet she was powerless to help him. Ito's parents hired a psychologist to come to their home. The psychologist talked with Makoto several times, but each session barely lasted before Makoto became agitated and drove him out. The psychologist told Ito's parents that Makoto suffered from severe anxiety, phobias, and delusions, and that he needed to be hospitalized. But Makoto refused no matter what, insisting that there were people from the system in the hospital who would hurt him. I never made a wish, because I wanted Makoto to live in fear. His body would only grow weaker. I wanted fear to consume him little by little, to let him taste the despair I felt in my dreams. About a month later, while I was reading in the library, my phone suddenly buzzed. It was an unfamiliar number. I hesitated for a moment, then picked up. From the other end came Ito's mother's voice, trembling with sobs. "George, please come back and see Makoto. He can't hold on much longer." I froze for a second. I hadn't expected Makoto to fall apart this quickly, but I didn't feel sad at all. If anything, I felt it was exactly what he deserved. "We've already severed ties. His situation has nothing to do with me," I said calmly, my tone completely steady. "George, I'm begging you, please come back and see him. He keeps calling your name, saying he was wrong, asking for your forgiveness." Ito's mother cried harder, her voice full of despair. "I know we wronged you before. We were biased. We were foolish. Please just come see him. I'm begging you." I stayed silent for a few seconds, then still refused. "No, I have things to do. I'm hanging up." After that, I ended the call, put my phone on silent, and continued reading. That afternoon, I heard the news of Makoto's death. It was the third brother who told me. He had seen it online. The report said that Makoto, the young master of the Ito group, had died at home. The cause of death was cardiac arrest. Later, I heard from others what had happened that morning. Ito's mother went to wake Makoto up, knocking on his door for a long time, but no one responded. Sensing something was wrong, she used the spare key to open the door, only to find Makoto lying on the floor, his face deathly pale, no longer breathing. Scattered beside him were many pills and a piece of paper with nonsense scribbled on it. Things like "System, don't come for me," and "George, I was wrong." After examining him, the doctor said that Makoto had died of cardiac arrest caused by extreme fear and anxiety. His body had long been weakened by constant terror and stress. Multiple organs were already showing signs of failure. Ito's parents called me several times, asking me to attend Makoto's funeral, but I refused every time. I had already severed ties with them. Makoto's funeral had nothing to do with me. After hanging up the last call, I said to the system in my heart, "I want to make a wish, no system." Ding! The host has made the wish, no system. Wish granted. The system will now unbind. Thank you for using the system. The mechanical voice echoed in my mind one last time before disappearing completely. I let out a sigh of relief. My whole body felt lighter, as if a heavy burden had finally been lifted. The system was gone at last. I no longer had to be controlled by it or forced to complete those strange tasks. After the system disappeared, I spent more time focusing on my studies. Anna's grades kept improving. She went from ranking first in her major to ranking first in the whole grade, even winning a national scholarship. Her health also improved. Her complexion turned rosy, no longer that sickly pale color, and she looked full of energy. Her mother's condition also became much better. After a period of treatment, she could get out of bed and walk on her own, and she was even able to do some light household chores. Her younger brother worked hard too. He got into one of the city's top high schools, ranked among the best in his class for every exam, and often called Anna, saying he wanted to learn from her, get into a good university in the future, and take good care of their mother and his big sister. One afternoon, Anna asked me to meet her by the lake at school. Many willow trees grew along the lakeside. When the wind blew, the willow branches swayed gently like a girl's hair. The surface of the lake shimmered under the sunlight, and occasionally a small fish would leap out, creating ripples across the water. Anna was wearing a white dress, her hair draped over her shoulders. She held a small daisy in her hand and stood by the lake, looking especially beautiful. The sunlight fell on her, as if coating her in a soft golden glow. "George," she called out when she saw me, a gentle smile on her face. She walked up to me and whispered, "Are you free today? I have something I want to tell you." "Yeah, go ahead," I said with a smile, feeling a little expectant. Anna lowered her head, gently pinching the daisy between her fingers. Her cheeks flushed slightly, and her voice carried a shy softness. "I know why you bullied me before. Thank you. If it weren't for you, I really don't know what would have happened. My mom might not be here anymore, my brother wouldn't be able to go to school, and I would have dropped out long ago." I froze for a moment, surprised. "How did you find out?" "I had thought I hid it well enough that no one would ever know. I heard it from your roommates." Anna lifted her head, her eyes filled with gratitude. "They told me they saw everything, the day you drove my father away, and how you told me to stop working part-time and eat properly. They said they know your character. You didn't really want to bully me. You wanted to help me." I smiled, feeling happy. I never expected my roommates would explain things for me. Anna looked at me, her eyes carrying a mix of shyness and anticipation. Her voice was soft but clear. "George, I like you. Would you be my boyfriend? I know I'm still not good enough right now, but I'll work hard. I'll study well, find a good job in the future, and work hard with you, together." I looked at her, feeling sweetness spread through my heart like I had just drunk honey. I nodded, my voice trembling with excitement. "I will, Anna. I like you too." Anna threw herself into my arms and burst into tears. I gently patted her back, feeling her warmth, and happiness filled my chest. All the grievances and hardships of the past years disappeared at that very moment. Later, I used the $5 million to make some investments. I bought some stable funds and invested in a newly established tech company. Unexpectedly, the tech company developed rapidly and became profitable in less than a year. My investment multiplied several times over. Anna and I were both admitted to our university's graduate program. During our postgraduate years, we attended classes together, spent long hours in the library together, and ate at the cafeteria together. Our days were fulfilling and happy. After graduation, I started an investment company. At first, the company was small, with only a few people, but relying on the experience and connections I had accumulated before, I quickly achieved results, and the company grew steadily. Later, I also funded another renovation of the welfare home. Anna entered a top-tier hospital and became a doctor. She worked hard and treated her patients with patience and kindness, quickly earning recognition from hospital leadership and patients alike. At our wedding, we invited my 3 dorm mates and the director mother of the welfare home. The ceremony was simple but warm. The director mother held my hand, smiling brightly as she said, "George, you finally found happiness. I'm so happy for you." The third brother and the other 2 were the liveliest ones at the wedding, even saying they would become godfathers to our future child. Married life was very happy. We bought a house that was neither too big nor too small. It had a small balcony where Anna planted many flowers. Whenever they bloomed, the entire balcony filled with fragrance. On weekends, we would visit the director mother, chat with her, and help with housework. We also visited Anna's family, checking on her mother and younger brother. As for Ito's parents, their lives fell apart after Makoto's death. With no one managing the Ito group, and combined with their previous investment failures, the corporation soon entered a crisis and eventually went bankrupt. They moved out of their luxurious villa into a small rental apartment, living very modestly. Ito's father suffered a stroke from the blow of the company's collapse and could only lie in bed, needing constant care. Ito's mother had to go to the market every day to buy vegetables and take care of Ito's father. Her hair quickly turned white, and she looked much older. Sometimes, I would see Ito's mother at the market. She wore cheap t-shirts and pants, carrying a small cloth bag, bargaining with vendors, nothing like the elegance she once had. When she saw me, she always lowered her head and hurried past, not daring to look me in the eye. I didn't speak to her either. After all, we had severed ties. It was enough for each of us to live our own lives well. Sometimes, I would think of that version of myself from the dream, the one who suffocated in grievance and died alone in a rented room. If not for that dream, if not for the system, I might have ended up just like in the dream, bullied by Makoto, despised by my parents, and ultimately meeting a tragic end. But now, I have a wife who loves me, brothers who truly care about me, a career of my own, and a happy family. I'm grateful that I seized the opportunity to change my fate. Life will never be completely smooth. There will always be hardships and setbacks. But as long as we don't give up, as long as we stay true to ourselves, as long as we keep kindness in our hearts, we will eventually find our own happiness. This is the most important lesson I learned from this entire experience.